That's him in his leather pilot gear necessary for an open cockpitted aircraft. Flight Lieutenant Thomas Culling. Looks young, eh? That's because he was. He's 20 in this photo, in an age and time where the average for a pilot was 22. Thomas Culling, though, wouldn't live to see his 22nd birthday. Just 9 days after his 21st birthday, he would be shot down, and his body would never be recovered. His legacies remain: the first New Zealand air ace, and New Zealand's youngest air ace. The latter record is likely to never be broken given the state of world affairs, then that we haven't seen a global conflict since 1945, and successive modern NZ governments would rather the RNZAF dropped aid from an aircraft rather than a bomb. The concept of rewarding successful pilots arose in World War I from the external propaganda value as opposed to a created tradition. The term ace is a French one, when French newspapers dubbed Adolphe Paygu the ace for shooting down 5 German aircraft. At first the British had their own term for their top pilots. They were called star turns, and then they went with the French aces, as well as the 5 kills as the benchmark. The Germans upped the ante for their airmen to 8. Von Richthofen, the ace of all aces, is credited with 80 confirmed victories until he too met his untimely death at 25. By now you'd be thinking it was a risky business being one of the estimated 150,000 pilots in World War I, and you'd be dead right, pun intended. A new pilot had a lifespan of just 3 months. The ways to die were numerous and not confined to aircraft or anti-aircraft fire. Pilot error, mechanical malfunctions, and crashing into other aircraft claimed many lives. All belligerents had aces that were lauded in their domestic media to beef up civilian morale. Russians, Italians, Americans, etc. From countries one wouldn't normally consider. Greece, India, Swaziland and Fiji had one. Clive, Brewster, Joske, he's on the left. I will pop his name in the description because he led a fascinating life. Take it from me, the circumstances of his death are equally engrossing. As a bit of a background story here, my great-grandfather, Harry, who was with the New Zealand Field Artillery, was wounded and taken out of the conflict after 2 years and 10 months by a bomb dropped from a plane. The popular perception of aerial warfare in World War I is one of dogfights, and of course these did occur hundreds of times daily above the trenches. Overall though, air forces on all sides proved far more effective and created greater mayhem, strafing each other's troops pinned into static positions or attacking their supply lines. Reconnaissance for the artillery, the evidence of which is on your screen. Culling was born into a well-to-do household in Dunedin in 1896 and shifted to Auckland aged 10. Just after the balloon went up in World War I and aged only 18 and a bit, he secreted away to join the New Zealand Samoa Expeditionary Force. His enthusiastic entry into the army proved to be problematic, as the government had told the public only those over 20 would be called up. Culling's father, Thomas Sr., made sure the authorities knew his son was underage, and his first taste of military life was short-lived. Undaunted, and presumably now with his father's blessing, he rejoined and sailed to England in 1915 with a view to become a pilot, there being no military flying corps in New Zealand at the time. His training led him to be attached to the 1st Naval Squadron in September 1916. Until the end of the First World War, the Royal Navy maintained its own air force. These 2 photos will give you an idea of what they got up to apart from dogfighting and making life in the trenches even more miserable. In my research, I also came across another section the Royal Navy Air Service maintained. Armoured cars. The most famous member of that section, at least as far as Kiwis are concerned, was this chap, Anthony Wilding, 4-time Wimbledon winner. In other words, the Royal Navy Air Service was far more than a reconnaissance wing. You'll probably appreciate that statement better looking at this snap. Then go, cripes, did the Brits also have triplanes, and not just the man who said Merry Christmas, my friend? Yep, the British had the Sopwith triplane, which was succeeded by the Camel. 160 were built, and Culling began his combat career in one. It was one of these striking machines that on the 6th of April 1917, Culling shot down his first aircraft over France. April was a stellar month for him. On the 22nd, he was involved with a giant dogfight, shooting down 2 of these. A Fokker Albatross D3. By the way, there is an operational Sopwith and a Fokker replica in Masterton next time you're passing through town. Back into it. The following day he downed another one. It didn't always go his way, or, for that matter, the squadron's way either. Escorting Bristol fighters, he was almost shot down by a larger German force. These engagements could regularly involve over 50 planes. Shortly into May, he got back into his winning ways. On the 5th, he nabbed number 4, and on the 19th, the newly promoted Culling became an ace. For good measure, he knocked off another one the next day, making it 6. It would prove to be his final kill. Friday the 8th of June would be his last, when he set out leading a 4-man flight trying to locate German intruders over Allied territory near Ypres, West Flanders, Belgium. Over a million combatants would die in engagements in and around the city of Ypres. 5 major battles would be fought there. About 15 kilometres away from the city lies the small town of Vaneton. There they ran into and engaged with 7 German albatrosses. 3 of the 4 Sopwiths would make it home. Culling wasn't one of them. He was declared missing. His father's worst fears were realised. Thomas Culling was posthumously recognised for his gallantry on the 22nd and 23rd of April, awarded the Distinguished Service Cross. His father took possession of the award. Maybe someone here can tell us where it is located today by putting it in the comments. This is the point I try and get you to watch more of my stuff. Since the top 3% of YouTube channels get 90% of the viewing time and are way too greedy. Going with the theme of New Zealand in World War I, and can I titillate you with the intriguing plans Germany had for New Zealand after the inevitable victory in the Great War? A link to the best use of the next 10 minutes of your life is in the description. Cheers to those who like and subscribe to my late life project. Bye for now.